All right, guys. Welcome back to the Atlantic Strong podcast. Had a little 2 week hiatus because I was getting ready for New Brunswick Strongest Man. But we're back tonight with Jordan Stuart from Newfoundland. If you don't know Jordan, check him out on Instagram. That's where I found him. He's a lighter guy who's putting up some pretty big numbers. And he's also done some pretty cool stuff in and around Newfoundland and going over to Scotland, Iceland, and Ireland to do some stone lifting. So, Jordan, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, man.
So first things first, you know, you've got two Instagrams now. One is your lifting account, one is your beer and hiking account. How many times a week do you hit a trail?
It's pretty much any day I get a chance at this point. So I started substitute teaching in February, and that's really cut down on the days I'm able to get out. But before that, it was every day. I just needed something to get out of the house, so I'll just drive to a different trail, go off for a couple hours, and just go where I can.
Right on. And so, do you bring a beer every time you go?
Yes. Oh yeah. I'm not going out there alone.
One thing I've wanted to ask, because I love beer, I love hiking as well. Me and my family, we actually took a whole vacation to do Cape Breton when my kids were only 2 and 3. So we
Right.
took them in Mountain Equipment Co-op backpacks. We spent 4 or 5 days in Cape Breton just hiking around. How do you pack the glass? Because you always take a glass.
I've got a couple of they're like plastic glasses that I got in Europe. It was big that they weren't they would charge you £1 for this like plastic branded glass that they have. And you either kept it and you didn't get your £1 back, or you got your pound back. But I kept them and brought them back. So I store the little taster inside of that, take it in the taster, and then just pour the rest in the glass and just have it out of there.
Right on. So speaking of Europe, let's get right into aside from obviously you're a very good lifter, you're a very good strongman. Tell me about your opportunities to go to over to Europe and do some stone lifting.
Yeah, so I was there for my internship for university. So I was working in a primary elementary school through the week, and we just happened to have the ability to travel around on the weekends. Iceland was unusual because there was a bit of a mishap with MUN and the people over there. So I had to take 2 weeks off of school totally. So I spent the first week calling back here to try and get everything arranged. And the second week said, to hell with it. I'm just going to book a 5-day trip to Iceland. And if they tell me I can go back to school early, then I'll just show up late, I guess. So I went to Iceland for 5 days with the intention of just going around and trying to do all the stones I could, see some of the places I'd heard about, the Blue Lagoon, obviously, a bunch of the hot springs, stuff like that. And yeah, just made a pretty good trip out of that one. I lifted 3 of the 4 fisherman stones. So the ones out at Dripvik Beach. I was quite the spectacle that day because it's become an area where a lot of tour buses travel to so that people could see the beach and learn of the history of these lifting stones. And I was sort of like the circus act that day because I was the only person they'd ever seen actually trying to lift the stones. So that was pretty fun. A lot of people very interested by it.
Do you remember the weights of those stones?
The smallest one is like 60 pounds. The translation of it is useless. So the stones were basically to determine your ability to work on the fishing vessels that left the beach. So if you could do the 60-pound stone, you were useless and you weren't even allowed on the boat. There's another one that's 170, I believe. And if you could lift that, you could work on the boats, but they weren't going to pay you. Half Sturker is 220. And that meant you were half strong and that you could work on the boat for half wages. And then the full Sturker is, I believe, 353.
It's 156 kilos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
that's
353, something like that.
330. So yeah, 340,
52,
345 around there.
Yeah. So I mean, that one is smooth as ice. Just could not get anything on it. But if you can lift that one, they used to give people full paying jobs just for their ability to lift that stone. So yeah, I couldn't get that one though. That was kind of a shame.
So where were you, living and doing your internship?
I was in Harlow, England.
Okay.
It's about 40 minutes outside of London to the northeast. So MUN has a sister campus over in that town. So there's a good relationship between that town over there and the university back here.
Yeah, you're not the first person I've known to do that program.
Yeah.
I had a friend growing up. She ended up going to MUN and going over to England, and I think she actually stayed there for quite a long time after the program or after she was done university. But yeah, I've heard of the program. I've heard of the partnership with Harlow. It's a pretty cool opportunity.
It's a fantastic opportunity. I mean, I went to 6 total countries while I was there, drove all over England, did a bunch of stone lifting, obviously. I did one competition in England, a strongman competition, but yeah, it was a great opportunity.
So you're in England. You did some stones in Scotland as well.
Yeah. So in Iceland, I also did the Husafell stone, which, I mean, obviously most people who are into this stuff know that one. I did that one the day after the Fisherman Stones and was pretty beat up afterwards. But then it was probably a month later. It was like midterm break for the students. So we as teachers got the week off as well. So I took those days and rented a car, drove all the way up to Scotland, and just drove around, just lifting stones, really.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think I lifted 9 stones while I was there. I seen the Dinny stones, but unfortunately they've become so popular that the ownership group keeps a lock and chain on them, so that people just can't walk up and try them anymore. You have to wait until certain preset days to have them unlocked so that there's judges and other competitors there, I guess. So I didn't get those ones, but
yeah, it's funny. I mean, a lot of them that are not the Dinny stones they're just kind of laying around.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a fair amount of them in Scotland they're literally just sitting up against a fence.
Yeah.
And if you don't know what they are and where they are, you would think that's just a rock sitting up against the fence.
Absolutely.
And
I think they just found one that they believed was lost. Like they found it yesterday.
Really?
It's just been sitting out in a field in Scotland for the past 40 years and nobody knew where it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So they found it. I think it's a 265-pound stone. Just found it in the north again.
Yeah. So you went to Ireland as well. Were there any stones to lift there?
Not that I knew of at the time. I think there might be 1 or 2, but when I was there, I didn't know of any. So
okay.
I didn't get to do any there. Same thing with Wales. They apparently have a couple stones, but I was unaware of them when I was in the country.
So let's go back to When did you start lifting weights?
Uh, I sort of recreationally started lifting immediately after high school. You know, I grew up playing sports all the way through school. When those ended in grade 12, I just needed something to do to get rid of some energy. And I wound up in a Michelin social club, just trying to piece things together. And then when I got to Mont on the wrestling team, we had a strength and conditioning program with some master students for a couple of years. That's where I, learned a lot more about all the stuff I was doing wrong. And that sort of, I don't know, I just sort of got addicted to it after that. Just talking to people about powerlifting, how you get into that, went to a meet, seen that, and just said, that's what I want to do now.
It's unfortunate because anybody that would go to your open powerlifting page, that doesn't tell the story of some of the impressive things that you've been doing. Because
Yeah, no.
what's your body weight right now?
230.
So you walk around at 230, 105-ish kilos.
Yep.
So, even in just the past few days, anybody listening, Stewart.94 on Instagram, 105 kilo guy. Just the past few days, we're looking at 495 for 13 reps on deadlift, 300 kilos for 4 on a trap bar. We're looking at 290 push press, which was pretty impressive. I really like that.
Yeah, I wanted 300 that day, but the unfortunate accident I had that week, there was just too much pressure building up and the swelling behind my eye, and it was not going to happen.
Yeah. So for those listening podcasts that don't have Jordan on Instagram, he basically dropped a Swiss bar on his face doing skull crushers.
Doing floor press.
Or it was floor press.
It wasn't meant to be a skull crusher, but it wound up that way.
What happened?
I just felt so the Swiss bar they have at that gym, it doesn't have like straight handles. There's a slight angle to them.
Yeah.
So as the first rep went fine. It was a little wonky, but that was all good. Felt strong. The second rep, I felt my right hand slip on the handle a little bit, and it just caused the balance of the bar to shift enough that it came backwards, and I could not catch it.
Yeah, it's not like you didn't drop it.
No.
You were just doing the rep, and you actually started to do what looked like the down portion of a skull crusher, and you dropped it on the base.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at your 290 push press, I mean 300 is there for sure.
Right there. Oh yeah.
You know what? And people, it's hard to do a hard set and then do another hard set on push press. It's not like doing squats or deadlifts where you add 10 pounds and it's 5% or less of the load. We're still with push press, with overhead pressing, we're still talking about where 300 pounds is really impressive. So to do 290 and then to add 10 pounds, that's a big day.
Yeah, it's a big jump on a lift like that. Like you could add 20 pounds on a squat, and that's not even
feel it.
Not even a good jump.
Yeah.
But if you add 10 pounds on a push press, you could just get mauled by it.
But yeah, watching that 290 right now, I mean, really all you had to do was get your head through a little bit earlier, and it wouldn't have even been that much of a grind looking at it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So you competed in powerlifting a lot.
Yeah, I did. I just did a competition every 6 weeks for my first 2 years in powerlifting.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You've competed 15 times since 2015. So 15 times in 6 years, just about.
Yeah. Yeah. Not bad.
That's a lot. But when did you start to get into strongman? Because that's obviously where
Yeah.
um you're shining right now. I mean, you're winning competitions in Newfoundland.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it was well, I got hurt in powerlifting in 2017. It was just a retest day at the gym. I was warming up on deadlifts and just felt something in my low back on the left side on a 545 first attempt. And it just developed into something that was left me unable to deadlift for a while, honestly. But during that time, I said, you know what, the hell with powerlifting. I'm going to focus on weightlifting for a minute because cleans don't hurt right now, but deadlifts do. So I was doing that. I did just a local weightlifting meet down at one of the gyms, and Kyle Mahoney was there. I still don't know why he was there, but he was like, "Hey, this guy's wearing a powerlifting shirt. He tried weightlifting. You may as well try strongman too." So he sent me a message on Instagram, asked if I'd compete. I said yes, and then just the diversity of events really is something I like because I obviously people who follow me on Instagram are like, this guy, he just goes and hits a PR on some random shit lift every day.
That's
But
awesome.
I mean, I'm having fun. And so strongman's good for that because there's so many different things and like there's events you've never trained before. So anytime you go in there, you can leave feeling good about that one.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we'll take a minute to shout out to Kyle Mahoney and Evan O'Coin, who are, leading the charge in Newfoundland with the organization of these contests. And I was actually talking about, you guys as in Newfoundland. I was talking about you guys last week at NB Strongest about how those guys have actually developed, a league
Yeah.
where you have to compete in the smaller shows and do good and gain points to compete in Newfoundland Strongest Man and Woman. I think that's fantastic
Yeah.
that those guys have kind of cemented their process of how they're going to do shows.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a good qualification system. Obviously there's some things that I would change, but it's obviously still in development as well. So
Yeah.
take all things into consideration. It's going very well.
Yeah, I mean, it was just about this time last year. I had Kyle and Evan on the show talking about what they were planning on doing with Newfoundland. When was your last strongman show? So actually, no, let's go back. When was your first strongman competition, the one that Kyle got you into?
That was probably February of 2018. It was just out at True Strength Gym, 5 events. I think it was max weight 15-inch axle deadlift with no straps, max log, Viking press, trap bar hold for max time, and the 4-stone Atlas stones. So that was the first one. There was no weight classes. I got second to Kyle by a couple points. And then after that, it was off to the races.
So how many strongman competitions have you done so far?
What? 6 or 7, I think, if we count static monsters as a competition. I'm not quite sure about, but 6 or 7. Most of them, all of them but one have been here. I would love to go other places and do it, but we'll see how qualification things go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see about that bubble too, because it's looking at the schedule. And for anybody that's messaged me on Instagram, I'm going to put out a schedule tomorrow of the competitions that I know are happening and roughly the time frame. what I'm gonna have to do is just start a new, like a Atlantic Canada Strength Sports news
Yeah, that'd be
page,
great.
where we can put all this stuff. But hopefully, if the bubble does open up, and hopefully if COVID just goes away sometime soon, you guys will get to come over and compete with the rest of us, and vice versa. I know that at one point, you know, kind of when we didn't know what was happening with COVID, I know a couple guys from PEI were talking about going and competing in Newfoundland. So hopefully we can start to get some crossover, because you guys have been isolated up there for a little while.
Yeah, yeah. I was looking at the list. They did send a couple invitations to people from PEI. I've seen a couple names on the list from PEI, so they're trying.
Yeah, yeah, because I mean we've got even just in New Brunswick, there's going to be at least two more shows this year. One on July 31st, and then I'm doing another one October 30th,
Right.
and then Atlantic Canada Strongest team is now moved to October in PEI. Atlantic Canada Strongest man, woman should be first week of July. There's talk of having another show in New Brunswick towards the end of the summer in Perth Andover. And that's looking like it's going to be very interesting, because the guy talking about doing that, Dirk Bishop, he's got a car deadlift frame, and he's got a fingers set up. So he's talking about doing a rising bar car deadlift. So every rep,
Yeah.
a person gets in the car. So you start with an empty car, and by the sixth rep, 5 people are in the car.
That's perfect. I love the sounds of that.
Yeah. And then Marco McLeod today said that Pictou County Strongest Man is going to be on September 11th, which is a great show. It's 3 events. It's short. It's really fun.
Maybe that's when we plan our trip home then. That would be a good call.
So are you from?
I'd love to do that one.
Are you from?
I'm from Nova Scotia
You're from
originally.
Nova Scotia. Whereabouts?
Yeah. Originally like Westville, New Glasgow area.
Yeah.
And then we moved to Bridgewater when I was 10.
Okay.
So yeah,
So yeah,
came over here for university, got stuck.
Just stayed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Marco's saying that that Pictou County's Strongest Man woman will be September 11th. I'm sure I'll have Marco on the show again. I did it last year. I mean, it was great. It was 3 events. It was super low key, really fun. Like, we were done in under 3 hours for sure. And that's how. So on October 30th, tentatively, I'm going to do the same thing in St. John. It's going to be the
Right.
St. John Fall Friendly. 3 events. Max circus dumbbell, powerlifting style, 3 attempts. Then a sandbag over bar for reps, and then a max farmer's walk for max distance.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, I think.
Grueling events there.
Well, I'm just using what I have. So I got sandbags, and I've got access to a circus dumbbell, and I've got farmers. Yeah. So let's talk about your programming. Do you do all that yourself, or does somebody program for you? Because your posts, your programming is quite interesting.
Yeah, I've been doing it by myself for a long time. When was it? A couple months ago. I don't honestly know what month we're in right now, but a couple months ago, Nick Camby, a pro 105er from Boston.
Yeah.
He made a post on Instagram saying, I'd like to just start coaching some people. I don't have any experience in it, but send me a message if you want to work with me, and we'll choose 3 people. I was one of the people who got chosen, and he's been helping me out with a lot of programming for the past 2 or 3 months.
Yeah,
So,
if people listening don't know who Nick Camby is, get on Instagram. He's Camby dude. He's a monster at 10.
Mind blowing.
He's not even a monster at 105. He's a monster. I mean, his overhead press right now, the videos that he's putting out, his axle clean and press rivals anybody's.
Most, yeah, exactly. He pressed clean and pressed the world record on an axle for 105 in training, and by all accounts had no idea that that's what just happened.
Yeah.
Like, just seen a weight on the bar, went up, lifted it, and they were like, dude, that's a world record.
I mean, Clash on the Coast, Anthony Furman's show, $10,000 prize for 105s is going to be really fun to watch, especially with Camby there.
I mean, some of those guys are just mutants too.
Oh, it's crazy.
I couldn't believe some of the numbers that were coming up on that leaderboard. 600-pound deadlift for 15.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
It's crazy, and it's numbers you don't expect from people not 350 pounds. That's the thing.
That's right.
That's what's obviously super impressive, that these guys, most of them are going to cut to 231, 105 kilos. The numbers are unreal.
Yeah, it's just out of this world. But he's been helping me for the past couple months. So we'll just hop on a Zoom every once in a while and discuss how things are going, how we're going to structure the next few weeks, what we can do to improve. We sat down last week and worked out a block for NL Strongest. That's why I'm currently on a deload week, because somebody else told me to do it. Otherwise, that's not what I like, so I probably wouldn't. But yeah, so he's been helping me with that.
So when is Newfoundland Strongest?
May 29th.
May 29th. Have they announced the events yet?
Yep, it's max weight frame deadlift, which should be fun.
What's the handle height for that? Do you know?
It's about 20 inches.
Awesome.
So it should be some crazy numbers. There's a 250-pound axle for max reps, clean and press. Double overhand axle deadlift, max weight, rising bar. Tire flip into a farmer's carry. 4 flips of the 550-pound tire into 315 a hand farmers. There's a truck pull, and there's one more event. What is that? Oh, stone to shoulder. It's 3 stones and rep out the last one.
Awesome.
Yeah, really fun contest.
I like events like that. I like events that kind of go against the regular convention for scoring an event.
Yeah.
It's just a nice change. Even the tire flip into a farmer's walk, that's not something you see very often.
No, and it's probably going to be horrible, but that's what it's there for.
Tire flip is great. You just have to be a strong person, and then you can flip the tire.
Yeah, I enjoy tire flips.
Yeah, me too.
Picking up the 315 a hand after that is going to probably not feel so nice.
It's we're at the point now where even at quote unquote local shows like Newfoundland Strongest, New Brunswick Strongest, 315 a hand is kind of routine weight.
Yeah.
The sport is growing so much that, so what I had at New Brunswick Strongest was 315 a hand, and it was a 50-foot run combined with a hold. So you had to do your farmer's run and then stop and hold the weight, and your hold time was subtracted from your run time. So what most people had were a negative score, and then the lowest score won.
Right.
But John Beaulieu from Moncton, he did the 315 a hand run in like 10 seconds and then held on for 30 seconds.
Right.
So
Because
he
it's
had
just
a
a
negative
crazy
20
sport.
score. He
Yeah.
also axle deadlift 585. It's 12 reps.
Wild.
It's crazy.
Now, that being said, I do prefer an actual deadlift. So
I'm using it more now than I had in the past, and I'm still kind of getting used to, um, even on a power bar, there is a little bit of slack that allows you to ease into that pull. So I'm getting used to that, but I like the axle.
it feels nice. I just got into a real nice groove with it that it just everything was clicking, position, like motor patterns, everything. And then switching back to a regular bar was pretty rough for a couple weeks, but I think I'm getting the hang
Um, Speaking of axle, something that's super impressive to watch when you post it is your axle clean and press, because your clean is the same every time you do it,
Yeah.
no matter the weight.
Yeah.
Every time you do it, it's the same, and you do that split clean,
Yeah.
and that's really really cool to watch. It's different.
Yeah. That was something yeah, I was told that they stopped doing it a long time ago for a reason, but I found it very helpful on the axle because when I had my first axle made, it was when everything was shut down. So I was just training at some school ground down the road. So I'd bring out the axle, and with that regular, like I rested on my belt and then just going into that regular power clean position, I would find at least twice a session, there would be one that would just hit me in the chest incredibly hard.
Yeah.
And then I seen a guy split cleaning, and ever since then, I never had a problem with it.
Well, and you say that, I kind of find that as well. Like I get it to my belt, or I actually am able to get most weights to almost the top of my belly, but I find with the weight there, the dip to do the rest of the clean is very
Yeah,
uncomfortable. Like I almost want
right.
to fall backwards when I try to do the dip. So that's how you've
Yeah,
combated that, is with the split.
yeah, yeah. And then if I can catch it in that position, I have to be able to lunge all these weights. There's no way that I shouldn't be able to. I'm not clean and pressing enough to not be able to do that.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, so you know, I was talking to Kyle and Evan a couple weeks ago just on DMs about weight classes and stuff, because I bounced a few things off of them for New Brunswick Strongest, and they're going to continue with no weight classes,
Yeah,
which
yeah, I've heard.
is whatever, but that means that you're competing against potentially much larger opponents, but that doesn't seem to be an issue.
No, it is what it is. I'm not worried about it. I'll go and beat anybody. I'm not too concerned.
I think in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, I think it's going the other way. I think we're leaning into some set weight classes.
Yeah,
I know that for New Brunswick Strongest next year, I think I'm actually going to look at 8 classes for men and women.
right.
So four for men, 4 for women, and do the lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, and open,
Right.
and have a clear delineation between heavyweight and open. Like you go to open, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
And then you have lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight.
Yeah, you could do the system that most places around the world do, like 80, 90, 105.
Yeah.
And then if you're above 105, you're an open.
Yeah.
I just think that weight classes would make it so much more intriguing for new people to enter the sport. Because I feel like people do, like they put out these qualifiers, they have the qualifiers in weight classes, and then a guy signs up, he's 185 pounds, and then he qualifies for NL Strongest, sees the events, and he's like, well, I don't have a chance of doing a 315 per hand farmer's walk.
Yeah.
Whereas if there was a weight class for people like that, I think that they would be more inclined to continue in the sport.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I think for me it was about accessibility. Because I wanted to have the open men and women, and I wanted that to be a spectacle, and I wanted it to be heavy, but I wanted everything else to be accessible. And so
Yeah.
I weight classed the novice classes with really accessible weights. One or two events were challenging for a lot of the people, and then the open was, over the top.
Yeah.
But I think that
Just
leaning into making it accessible is what's going to grow the sport, you know,
absolutely.
everywhere, including Newfoundland.
I mean, it's worked in every other strength sport.
Yeah,
I just don't see why it wouldn't work again. Like weightlifting has 10 weight classes for men, powerlifting, I think it's 9 or 10, something like that. So I just think that would be the best way to grow things.
yeah. But I mean, what you guys are doing over there, it seems to be working so far. I mean, you don't have any lack of people wanting to compete.
Right. And don't get me wrong, I do like the idea of like an ultimate show where you could do like a provincial weight class winners, and then the 10, 12 best performances from that go on to another show where it's just open weight. Here are the events, here are the weights. Let's see who is the top.
Yeah. What I would like to see is New Brunswick, PEI, Nova Scotia, Newfoundland each have a provincial championship, and then top three from each one go to Atlantic Canada Strongest Man, and that still gives, say that's still 12 men, 12 women.
Yeah.
Which I mean, last year at Atlantic, now last year was a one off because it was COVID and Renfrew wasn't leading the charge on Atlantics, and it was in September or October, wasn't at Tide Fest. I mean, there was only 3 women. There was
Right.
only 6
Yeah.
men.
Yeah.
Nobody from
Yeah, I think
Newfoundland.
that's a great idea. Just have it be an actual Atlantic Canadians, right?
Yeah, it's almost to the point where there should be some sort of qualifier,
Right.
and that is going to end up being a provincial championship for each province, and then you've got to do X. You got to come top 5. You got to come top 3, whatever it is,
Right.
and you get to go to Atlantics.
That would give you some leeway with alternates as well.
Yeah,
I mean, say the competition's in New Brunswick, you could have the 4th and 5th finisher just waiting for a call if somebody has to pull out.
yeah. And I mean, I think we're a couple of years away from that, because at this point, I think it would be hard to fill out. Even right now, it's hard to fill out open men, open women, especially women. It's hard to get 10 open women.
Oh
And I
yeah, absolutely.
mean, even with COVID last year, there was 6. I mean, there were 6 open men. You open up Newfoundland, there's 3, 4 that could come from Newfoundland. So we're still only up to 10.
Right.
I think we're a couple of years away, but I think it's something that is going to end up happening, where we take what you guys are doing in Newfoundland and start to apply it to the whole of Atlantic Canada.
Right. I mean, it would be it just works well into the national circuit as well too, right? Just have true qualification systems for things like the Canadian Hercules.
Yeah. So the Canadian Hercules is the drug tested competition, right?
I think so. One Kyle always tells me about, so I'm sure it is.
The first time I heard about it was Kyle telling me about it on this podcast, that there was a drug tested strongman competition national championship in Calgary.
Yeah.
First I'd ever heard of it, which is awesome. I mean, you don't hear much about drug tested competitions because it's just not a thing. Hopefully
market,
it becomes
yeah.
more of a thing.
Right. It could with the amount of people who join things like IPF powerlifting.
Yeah,
There's a demand for things like that. You just need to get the notoriety so that people are willing to come over and join.
yeah, yeah. I think as popular as strongman is right now, I think it's still in the very early stages of popular, being in popular culture and being a thing that kind of average people do. Whereas I
Yeah,
think, powerlifting
yeah,
has gotten there. Powerlifting over the past couple of years has just exploded. And there's data to show it. You look at, IPF affiliate registrations over the past couple of years, and they've just gone through the roof.
yeah.
Um, and we're not there with strongman yet. We're getting there. I think the weight classes, pushing female competitions to the forefront, things that clash on the coast with the 105, the big 105 competition is great. So I think it's going to be a couple of years, but I think there's enough people that want the sport to grow, especially in Atlantic Canada, that we'll have some sort of official league or official, governing body within the next couple of years.
Even things as small as like accessibility to equipment. Like
Yeah,
if your local CrossFit gym can get a yoke, some farmer's handles, and maybe a log, maybe, then I would say that would increase popularity of sport as well, especially with that female demographic, because just having those things at the spot where those people are is only going to encourage them to try it.
yeah, yeah. I think I think the key to the growth of strongman, like it was for powerlifting, is in the CrossFit gyms.
Absolutely.
I mean, so I hosted New Brunswick Strongest Man with Fundy CrossFit in St. John, um, and now they've got a log, they've got an axle. Um, I did 2 seminars there where I drug all my equipment and showed everybody the implements and the rules and things like that. Like I think that's where we need to go to grow this sport.
Definitely. Yeah, we had a competition at the CrossFit gym here in November, and a couple of those people from the gym jumped in and they did well, and it seemed like they enjoyed it. And we're like, oh, where can you find equipment like this? Like, how do we get a hold of this more often so that we could implement it somewhat?
Yeah, I mean, you go to a CrossFit gym and they're already, by virtue of them being there in that environment, they're already halfway into it.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like going and grabbing 10 people from Good Life, um, and trying to teach them on strongman equipment. You go to a CrossFit gym, if they've been going to that CrossFit gym for any amount of time, they're into it. There's a very specific attitude of the people that stay at those gyms, uh, that really lends itself to being able to get into strongman or being open to getting into strongman.
they've got all the tools to be successful in it too. I mean, be as it may, like powerlifters don't start off necessarily with the right tools for it, because your bench press isn't going to translate well to your overhead. You're probably not as conditioned as some people. CrossFitters, there's a heavy conditioning aspect, a lot of overhead lifting. You have to improve your deadlift, obviously. The squats are good, so there's no reason those people can't be successful. I mean, Nagaramu Afeni, the current under 90 world's strongest man, started out in the CrossFit gym,
Yeah,
tried a strongman competition, hired a coach, and 1 year later or 2 years later, he's a world champion.
yeah,
So they've got the tools for it.
yeah. And aside from the people, these CrossFit gyms have the space for it.
Oh yeah.
They've got the ability to bring in implements and store them, and they've got the space to use them.
Yeah.
You know, unlike a lot of other commercial gyms or even private gyms, they're really tailor made to being able to get people into strongman and to have and own implements.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, that's if we want to grow strongman, that's the place to go.
That's the market you should be going to.
Yeah. Well, Jordan, we've been talking for about 45 minutes. I think that's a great place to stop. Once again, people listening that don't follow Jordan on Instagram that want to see some impressive lifting for anybody, let alone a guy that walks around at 230, check him out. It's jstewart.94 on Instagram. Good luck May 29th at Newfoundland Strongest. I'm fairly confident that you'll win it again.
Be up there for sure. I'm confident enough in myself that I'll say that.
I mean, your deadlifting is particularly impressive, but I've been watching your overhead go up and up and up and up and up. I mean, 300 is there for sure on a push press. Your axle clean and press technique is on point. So I mean, you got 250 for reps. What do you think right now you could get?
I think 5 or 6 right now would be a good target number for me. And I think most of that's just going to come down to the conditioning to be able to get it up and down in 60 seconds.
Your clean is so efficient.
Yeah.
It's so crisp. Yeah. 5 or 6 for sure.
I feel like it's not a number that I'm going to struggle to press right now. It's just going to be being able to get out that many cleans and presses in the time frame. So we'll see how it works out, but I think we've got a good plan for it.
All right. Well, Jordan, thanks for coming on the show. I'm glad I got to finally talk to you after following on Instagram for a while, and good luck in May.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me.